Welcome to What's Up Wednesdays with Washington Husky Basketball legend Donald Watts. What's Up Wednesdays is a presentation of Game Time Sports Talk in conjunction with Watts Basketball, Game Changers for Life. To sponsor or enroll an inspiring young hooper, log on to wattsbasketball.com. And now, What's Up Wednesdays with Husky basketball legend Donald Watts. Here's your host, JB.
As you've heard, if you have a son or daughter or just understand and know a hooper who loves basketball and looking to take their game to the next level and looking for a program that'll maximize their growth and development as players and as people, then the Watts basketball programs are for you. Of course, it's designed with family values and to keep you up to speed in basketball while giving you the time and space to play other sports and engage in family activities. Your hooper, your aspiring hooper, will, of course, have the routines of the all-time greats, be encouraged to strive for personal excellence, and engage in the support of the community of higher achievers. Get involved with the game-changing Watts basketball programs. Visit wattsbasketball.com today. And with us to talk about that and a variety of topics, there's nothing going on this week in sports, obviously, so I'm not quite sure what we'll talk about. The University of Washington Husky basketball legend Donald Watts. What's up Wednesday, D?
What's up? Chilling, man. Hey, sorry I missed you. Sorry to the audience. We missed each other last week. Had some business I had to take care of for the family. Had a friend over at, I've been on the bus, catching the bus, because when my dad has appointments, and had one of my friends, an old friend, old rival, old AAU teammate over there at Dawgs Auto Tune, Josh Folsom, hit me up and was like, "Hey man, brother, I got a car for you. Come through." And that was something I needed to handle and get situated, as we, just needed to do that. So I had to miss last Wednesday, take care of the fam, get some other business handled, but I'm back.
All right,
I'm back in full force, baby.
Hey, we're glad to have you, and of course, I'm glad. Hopefully, everything is doing all well. Look, it was a Husky bye week. What did I expect? So that's what you get.
Week off.
There you go. And I'm glad that you are taking care of that business and things are going on. Well, that's a little bit about what's happening with your father. Of course, how's Pop's doing? How's Slick Watts doing?
He's doing good. He's steady. We're just working hard, honestly. I just need, folks to get up here and help me fill this gym so that I can have more time to spend with him. Spending a lot of time and emotional energy there, but then also trying to run the business and trying to do other things to fill the gap between the resources that, caring for him costs. And it's been up and down. It's been inconsistent here over the last 2 years. And when it's not there, it's my responsibility to go get it done. I've taken on the responsibility to go get it done so that I can preserve his life and the quality of his life. And it's really challenging right now. But, the best thing that anybody can do that wants to support us, if you got a kid, go get them signed up. Get them signed up today. It's urgently needed. Our business is a Black-owned family business, and this is how we eat and how we care for each other. So get them signed up for camp. If you don't have a kid, sponsor a kid, wattsbasketball.com, the wattsfoundation.org. If you want to donate, sponsor a kid in camp. All of that is greatly appreciated and then also just greatly needed at this time. It's a critical time for us right now.
And for those that don't know, of course, Slick is recovering from a stroke he suffered about a year and a half ago now, right, D?
About two and a half years.
2.5 years ago, right, and still in recovery, and again, ups and downs. And just to give an update for those who don't know, we don't want to assume that everybody does know. Of course, you can get more information at wattsbasketball.com, of course, the Watts Basketball, thewattsfoundation.org, I should say. Of course, everything that you'll need is right there. So we appreciate that. Even with everything that's going on there, D, does Does Slick still get the itch this time of the year with the weather changing? Well, I know we had a beautiful weekend and whatnot, but definitely fall weather, of course, has happened this week. Does he get that itch in knowing that basketball season is right around the corner?
I mean, definitely, he likes to get on there and watch it on TV. Like I mentioned, man, like one of the things that I really want to be able to do, and it's been really difficult for me trying to catch up on bills and all of that stuff. So much of my time has been focused on that I haven't been able to get him to the gym. And before we were going 2 or 3 days a week, but I've been so busy trying to play catch up that we can't do it. And I got to get back to doing that because I'm the one who he responds best to and can really motivate him. Before he had fell at the house and broke his hip, we were walking without his walker, and we were dribbling the basketball up and down. We'd go from the free throw line and back and timing it. And that was something that he was really getting him juiced. Like he was really excited about trying to beat his time. And, you know, he started the first time we walked, literally, like this is how it works, man. The first time he walked, it took him like 1 minute and 30 seconds to go 15 feet without his walker. By, you know, a couple weeks into it, that same walk was 20 seconds. You know, and then we were doing it with a basketball in 25 seconds where he was dribbling the ball. And you could just see those things that reconnect into who he is, really lift his spirits and give him a fire and a passion that we want to have. And like I said, that's why I have him, man. Like that role is unique. It is the relationship that we built, him training me, or that he built with me. And now that he's in this situation, you know, like we talk about training, we talk about getting better, we talk about taking it one. It is like, I mean, it's a nobody wants to be in this situation, but it's a privilege and an honor as a son to be in the situation, to be able to be having conversations that he had with me that made me the state player of the year and helped me get University of Washington to the Sweet 16. Those intimate moments and times in the gym. Now it's basically the same thing in stroke recovery. You know, I'm having the same, like I'll be saying stuff and I'm like, I sound like my dad. Right. You know, and so, I mean, there's some really, really beautiful, you know, moments and in the growth and I miss that. I got to get back to that part of it. I got to get my business humming during the day so that when kids are in school, I can hang out with Pops and, you know, really motivate him and help him continue to work. Right now, he's at an appointment with Pushing Boundaries, which has been great. But what I found is you know, nobody is able to connect with him, motivate him, and help him get better like his boy.
There you go.
Who was me. So that's my dream, man. Like it's been a really difficult time. We did the golf tournament. That was good to raise awareness for the underprivileged kids, but didn't really, you know, generate the money that we need to support the kids that we want to support. And it was a lot of time, energy, and effort, right? Like, so it's like you learn from that stuff. And it's like, man, let me get back to let me really focus on doing what I do best, being in the gym with these kids, keeping my time as efficient as possible so that I can do where I'm needed the most, which is with Pops. So that's you know, like that's where we're at. That's where we're at. It's been a lot. I just got to say I appreciate all the love and support that you've given, that the What's Up Wednesday family has given, and we're not done yet, you know. But hopefully, you know, we can work toward a tipping point where it's just back to life as usual for our business, and that'll be able to be able to fund, you know, our care for him, my kids, you know, futures, and get back to living some of my own dreams, man. That's the game plan, you know, and appreciate the community for the support.
No doubt. Talking with the University of Washington basketball legend Donald Watts here for a What's Up Wednesday. It comes your way every Wednesday at 2 p.m. here on Game Time Sports Talk and these platforms. To listen to some previous episodes or podcasts of What's Up Wednesday, visit wattsbasketball.com. today. Now, with that being said there, D, and I'm glad that everything's come full circle. Anything that you want to say in regards to some of the upcoming programs there with Watts Basketball before we move to some of the, should we say, more exciting news of the week, other than, of course, you getting in the gym with these kids. But let us know what the fall plan is and what's happening with the Watts Basketball programs.
Oh, man, it's just preparing kids for the season. I'm excited about having a winter season for our youth winter season as well. We're putting all that stuff together. But just pop over to wattsbasketball.com. We got 2-week trial sessions going on right now that, are between $175 if you're in high school and $150 where you can come get, 8 to 10 sessions at a really, bottom rate to just feel the legendary training difference, right? To feel that game changes for life different. We want to make it easy as possible for people to get in the gym and have the experience, and then we make a game plan from there. So head over to watchbasketball.com and come shoot that rock with us.
I know that's right. One thing that it needs to be committed, D, with you and your staff there, for those who don't know, you guys meet the hooper where they're at. A lot of times when you go into camps, especially with former players like yourself, it can be intimidating. But I'd say that it is nowhere near that. The best thing you guys do over there is you meet the baller, meet the hooper, meet the young man, the young lady where they're at, and so you're to be commended with that. And I definitely, of course, endorse Watts Basketball and D and his staff and what they do over there.
Man. Yeah, and I just, if I could say, a couple words about that, man. Like, I was a state player of the year, and I went to the University of Washington. I played overseas, and I got paid to do this. But I never forget where I started, and I started in 5th grade on a team that didn't win a game, and I'll never forget the work that it takes. And I enjoy, like, turning on the light for kids no matter where they are at. Like, if they're just getting started, this game is such a beautiful game. Or if they're trying to get to college and they've run into the wall recruiting, being able to, like, give them a little something that unlocks something for them, and then they feel that growth and improvement, and then they, like, you see them light up, or you see them lock in, or, whatever it is, there's a switch that you can see go on where they really start to experience and enjoy the game wherever they're at going forward in the way that they haven't before. And, like, I cherish every part of that process for myself, and I relish every part of that process for myself. And so I connect with, I like working with kids is my opportunity to connect with that part of the process in my past and to help kids from my experience. So it's something that I take a lot of pride in. I'm not trying to get the best of the best and, take a picture with them so that I can get more kids in the gym. I just want kids that want to have fun, want to work hard, and want to get better at the game, have some goals and dreams, and want to be realistic about working towards them, because I know how powerful that is once the ball stops bouncing and once the game's over for you. You get so much from it to take with in other parts of your life. So that that's the what and the why about how and why we do it, man. And I'm passionate about it.
Absolutely. It's a great way to pay it forward to you, to be commended. Now, with that being said, it's been a couple weeks since we spoke, and it was a very disappointing end to the Mariners season, and then even more disappointing once Jerry Dipoto did like what me and you do on Wednesdays and step to the mic. I just want
from that man.
Grab that mic. Where's Sandman at? Okay, what's your take? Because I know we haven't had a chance to catch up since it went down, but just whether on the field and then obviously off the field, and how disappointed were you with everything?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was a season of highs and lows. We talked about that for the Mariners. But to finish with a low, and to finish, it was. I know they wanted to go to the playoffs, so this sounds crazy, but it was almost like they didn't want to go. You know, like,
after hearing Dipoto?
No,
Or
no, before.
Just the way they played.
Yeah. They didn't go fighting and scratching and grinding and, like the way they did in the playoffs last year against Houston. They lost the series, but every game was a nail biter. And it's just like it wasn't. It's like they fell flat at the end of the season. Which is.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but the last time you spoke, you talked about you finally got to the park. You wanted to check Luis Castillo out for the first time,
man.
and he, of course, threw a dud there against the Astros. But honestly,
he pooped the bed, man.
Yeah, he all upside down the leg, man, stank everything. When he did that he failed us there on that Saturday. He's the big trade get, from a year ago, but. You talk about them not wanting to or not fighting, but had they won that Saturday game and obviously how it ended with that Sunday win, it would have been a sweep and they would have been AL West champions.
Yeah. So they had going into the last two series against the two teams that they were competing for the spot with. They had every chance and opportunity you want. No matter what game you play, football, basketball, whatever, they're right where you want to be.
Right.
Coming down the stretch of the season, and they were like the worst that they had been at that point. So that's what's curious and disturbing. Obviously, I'm still a Castillo fan. I'm not giving up on him at all. But I got to go. It's like, man, it's like Kanye CDs, right? Like it's like you put enough good stuff out there.
Yeah.
That I got to give you one or two. You know what I mean? But I go to the third game, and it's looking like that, and then I got to write them off.
Right.
Personally, I'm not saying the Mariners.
Right.
but I'm a guy who, well, they don't have CDs no more, but I'm the guy who would make a point to go buy people's albums
to support
that I thought put work into their album. Right? If you got 6 or 7 songs to slap on there, I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to buy your next one because you treated me right with the last one.
Right.
And if one falls flat, I'm gonna give you another $9.99. Right, to see if you bounce back, right? But then on that next $9.99, hey man, like I'm through with you.
Yep.
Like I'm gonna give it a spin in somebody else's car.
Man, don't get an F on your B-sides now.
Right.
That's how it is. No, you're right.
So that's the kind of guy I am. And so with Castillo, like he's obviously got he's earned some equity here in this community, but struggled down the stretch. Hopefully that's just, it doesn't become a thing where in pressure situations, he gives it up. But for right, I'm still with you, big dog. I'm still with you. You know what I mean? But I need you to come out smoking next season.
Yep. You need a different producer, bro.
Yeah, and then when it's go time, toward the end of the season, I really need you to ratchet it up.
There you go.
So that's where I'm at with that, man. And then as far as Dipoto, man, I don't know what that was.
I was hoping you could explain it to me.
I don't know what. It just it sounded non-competitive. It sounded non-competitive, and it sounded like, it's just the things you don't say as the leader of men. In a competitive, I don't know, man. Like, I was dumbfounded and still am.
To say that he did the fans a favor, and there's some things you just don't go to the mic with, and you talk about 54%. And things of that nature. Look, are you in it to win championships, or are you in it to make money? Because honestly, from a lot of people I talked to, and like you said, you went to go see Castillo. I went to a couple games this year, and I talked with had a thread with a couple of diehard Mariner fans that did the same thing, and they were like, they feel like they got gypped, like they got their money took this week because or this year because of how they sounded. They sound like they're in it just to make money instead of championships, to the point where they're feeling like that's the way this ownership group feels, and all they've done is just change the name. They've had the same face behind the veil. Then they need to sell.
Right. No, you know what, man? I was having this conversation about NBA, and it kind of goes to all sports franchises. The money is so big and so guaranteed that it's become about, in some situations, about the money and about the business model. And I just think you have to be careful about that as an organization, because if it becomes too much about entertainment and too much about the money and not enough about the core of the sport, which is like sport is sport. It's not a movie. It's not a like.
Best thing about it, yeah.
If it's not about the competition, and then that takes the drama out of it, and the drama is what sells, right? Like, and if you know that your team is not going for it, like, it's one thing to be going for it and struggling, you can get behind that. But if you feel like they're not going for it, then you're going to lose money in that regard over time. It's like you can't forget about what drives the money. And what drives the money is the opportunity or the illusion that our community is going to have a chance to one day win a World Series and to get to the playoffs. And so you got to continue to do things and make the fans believe that you're trying to do things to take steps forward, right? Like, you don't even have to take steps forward, but you got to convince us that you're taking steps forward, not that you're satisfied with where things are, and that's what you plan on coming back and doing the following year. There's no, like, eventually that's going to cost you, right? That's going to ruin the business model.
Yeah.
So at the core of sport is going for it.
Right.
At the core of sport is trying to win it. And that's just, it is what it is. And I don't see, you can look at your budget for what it is, but if you start revealing that you're making decisions, based on
bottom line,
on profit, and not based on winning, then you're gonna lose profit.
Yep.
You're
right.
That's how it goes. The NBA is about to sign this crazy TV deal or whatever. But the NBA players, yeah, your money's guaranteed, but you got to know that at some point when fans realize that you don't, like, that it's a paycheck for you and you're playing this contract for your next contract, not for this season's playoffs or to win games or, then your contracts are going to go down. The TV money's going to go down because it's not going to be interesting when players aren't playing and they're resting, and like at some point that's going to come back to bite you. Right now it's not, because of the media stuff is so, but it's the media stuff is backed by the core of the sport.
True.
And when you lose that, it's going to cost you. And I think that what Dipoto said is it's alarming, right? Like, they probably need to do something to overcorrect that as an ownership group for this fan base.
Honestly, the only thing they could do is sign Shohei, and it really show that you're about face and you're about winning. You're right. I mean, because the long game they're going to lose. The last thing you want is for a fan base to become apathetic.
There you go.
It's the last thing you want.
And it's one of those things when you talk about energy, like, you want to keep things going because once it stops, it's harder to get it back started. They got a nice rhythm. They got nice momentum. They got, the fans full over there. The stands are full over there. It's like you want to keep that going. You don't want to lose that.
Yeah. It's been loud, so definitely doing with that. Speaking of money, we're talking with University of Washington Husky Basketball legend Donald Watts here on a Watts Up Wednesday here on 1620 KYIZ. Also at ztwins.com and on the Simple Radio app. You can check out our past podcast at wattsbasketball.com. We're also on in the Vancouver, Portland area on 1480 AM, 97.5 FM KBMS. I talked about money, and all the pleasantries are done there, D. It's big time here, of course, on your former campus. And, of course, you'll always be a Husky, but Duck Week is something special. I want you to talk a little bit about the rivalry now that it's got this national focus. The last time game day was here, when the nation had its eye on it, is when UW was trying to make it back and make the Pac-12 something about it. And the Ducks were here. Top 10 matchup coming up this week. Before we talk about the new AD hire and whatnot, just to talk about your thoughts, your memories about this rivalry, whether you were when you were on campus, once you left. Why is this such a big rivalry?
I mean, it's a big rivalry. You got the two, I guess most consistent power conference schools here in the Northwest. And, they border each other. So, I mean, it is what it is. And you grow up in it. I remember going down there and playing my freshman year and getting off the bus, and the fans were already, outside the gym. They had to rope it off so we can get into the gym, and then we go into this little crappy locker room at Mac Court. I loved it. I loved it so much. And then by the time we come out the locker room, the fans are in the stands for our warm-ups, 90 minutes before the game, talking trash the whole time. So it's a rivalry. It's for real. And when they split up the Pac-12, so there's a Pac-12 North and South, and of course, it's Washington or Oregon in the championship. It's not always just, but that's how it kind of shakes out a lot. So it's big time, man. But this is the biggest one I can ever remember. This is the biggest one here,
right?
Anyway, I can ever remember. And so it's you got a second-year coach in Deborah. You got a team that's been rolling. Last year missing the Pac-12 championship by giving up a game. I mean, this is kind of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The two programs, one's going one direction, one's going the other, right? Like after this game. So it's more than this game. This game is like both programs' hopes for the rest of the season are on the line, because that's the way college football works.
It says I'm gonna bring it more to a personal scale. I know you're making it recent, but but people forget, especially some of the youngins out there, that this rivalry goes very deep, and obviously I think that it really got serious about 30 years ago with that pick, and just on the football field. But it's on the basketball court there as well. Full disclosure and transparency, D. One of your best friends went to Oregon. What did that do with y'all's friendship, and how did that make the rivalry even that much more special? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, and you know this from certain circles and conversations that were happening at the time. We were hoping that what happened with B. Roy and them would have been what y'all did. If at least they would have followed you to the campus there at UW, and T. Brown and J. Terry would have came there. And what I mean, do you guys still talk about what could have been? Obviously, J. Terry he probably ain't tripping because he got his national championships and whatnot. But just talk about that rivalry from a perspective with your high school rival, of course, going to be your college rival once he, of course, went to the University of Oregon.
Oh man, it was definitely, heated. It was definitely rivalry. It's definitely stuff that when we get together, he still wants to bring up.
Won't let it go.
Oh man, I beat you in a dunk contest. I'm like, what? Wait a minute now. I know we getting old, but
Right.
amnesia. What are we doing now?
Right.
You know,
What's
like,
happening?
did I have a sprained ankle in one? What were we doing, man?
Oh,
Like,
man.
Nah, but I mean, it was great, man. And you know, one thing that people, you know, have to understand about rivals, right? Like, we're best friends.
Right.
You know,
And for those that don't know, we're talking about Tarek Brown.
Yeah, best friends and rivals. You know what I mean? And so, at the end of the day, that on game day, that makes it probably a little worse of a rivalry. But in between the games, you know, you're rooting for your guy.
Right.
You know, and then in the summertime, you know, the Oregon cheerleaders was coming down, hanging out with me. So we was good. Like,
you know, with that being said, and just before we move on, what was the trash talk like between the fathers, who were former Sonic legends?
Yeah. I don't think there was too much, honestly. You know,
they were just proud, smiling proud.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. You got to remember, both of them coached us.
You
know, Fred coached me.
Downtown Freddie Brown, y'all.
Yeah. Downtown Freddie Brown coached us when we were younger. And my pop coached us when we were older on the circuit trying to get these scholarships and stuff, you know. And Tarek had a chip on his shoulder for sure, because he was a late signee, and you know, UW was recruiting him, and when they thought that they were getting JT, they kind of backed off of him. And then when JT bounced on us to Arizona, I think they tried to open up back that recruitment, but he wasn't hearing it. You know what I mean? So there was a lot there. And that's a part of the rivalry, right? Like, you're competing for recruits. You know, like, Washington's in the living room. There's chances that Oregon's coming into the living room right after him. You know, so that's the way it goes. And you know, you got guys just like me and Tarek played against each other in high school, and were rivals in high school. You got a lot of kids from the Oregon area, a lot of kids from the Washington area that had similar, you know, butted heads in high school. So it you know, it's not like a 4-year thing. You know, when me and Tarek played at Oregon our senior year, man, that's 8 years of battling.
Yep.
You know, it was Interlake and Mercer Island, me dunking on them kicking our butt, you know, as a freshman. Then it was Lake Washington, Mercer Island, and pulling my pants down and all kind of crazy stuff because they couldn't stop me. You know what I mean? And now it's the Ducks and the Dawgs. And that's, you know, not unique to us. That, you know, those are the relationships that are up here in the Northwest that get to clash and battle on Saturday at 12 o'clock on ABC. You know, like, that's special, man. And when we played my first game at Mac Court at the Pit, it was a national televised game, and that place got so loud, man, that the sound just became deafening. And I thought somebody blew a whistle in my ear. I was at half court.
Is that the loudest place you ever played?
Oh man, yeah. And like, I was like Smokey at half court. I was jumping around like I thought somebody just came up behind me and blew a whistle in my ear.
Come on, Craig.
That's why I'd be like, forget Hector.
Wow. You're talking with University of Washington basketball legend Donald Watts here on a What's Up Wednesday, talking about the Duck rivalry. It is Duck Week coming up, and added to the mix. I don't know. Maybe it was part of the pageantry. I think they laid it all out. These things, you know, sometimes they're authentic and organic, but sometimes you can even plan it better. But to introduce the new University of Washington Director of Athletics, Troy Dannon, is the hire. He comes from Tulsa. He's an Iowa kid, and we were talking about money earlier. We had this conversation a little over 6 weeks ago when, of course, Jen Cohen took the job at USC. We had the conversations, and of course, go to previous podcasts at wattsbasketball.com. You'll hear, Don, you're talking about the fact that you're worried about the discrepancy in money going to the Big Ten. And even though they have not yet officially, of course, committed to the Big Ten, they are talking about the transition that's thereof. And You were talking about the $60 million that USC and UCLA and all the other Big Ten schools will be making versus University of Washington and Oregon, who are both going to the Big Ten, we think. Next year we'll be making $30 million as opposed to that. So that you talked about having to supplement the income and where these things are going to come from, and he's tasked with that. He's tasked with, of course, revamping the basketball program down there at Montlake. We've talked a lot about that. What's your impressions, and what are not only the expectations but the challenges that Troy Dannon now has as the new University of Washington athletic director?
I haven't had a chance to look too much at his background and what he accomplished. I did get an opportunity to hear him answer a couple questions that sounded pretty interesting. Something that we've been talking about. It sounds like it might have some legs, which is regionalizing the Olympic sports as this goes, and kind of having football, or maybe football and basketball, stand on its own eventually. And that was something that he didn't commit to, but he said he was just got out of having a conversation that that was a part of the deal. So it was almost like he didn't really want to talk about those aspects of it because or like how travel is going to work for Olympic sports and whatever, because that might not be an issue long term. It might be a 1 or 2 year issue, or he's like, we're talking about those conversations are being had, and so very interesting from that point. The other thing I just it's all of this, like they talk about college football realignment, and it just all of this can fit into the category of college football realignment. Like Jen Cohen goes to get more money and a bigger opportunity, I guess, you can call it, at USC. This guy comes from a mid-major Tulane university, and like obviously that's a step up coming to the University of Washington. So everybody's shifting, everybody's shifting up basically. Everybody who can move and to move to more money and a bigger situation, they're doing it. The programs, the people in the programs, the athletic directors, all of it. So college football realignment, is the fallout or the avalanche effect of it, whatever you want to call it, goes well beyond, the high major programs moving and aligning super leagues. It's affecting college sports as a whole, and like college sports, it feels like to me, is becoming like it's just following college football.
Right.
Like it's just like you follow the money. Like college football is the money. College football is right now taking everybody with them. It's like whatever the college football goes, then everything shifts as it results, as it relates to that, rather.
The breadwinner paying the bills.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, how much can it pay when you got to play tennis at Rutgers? And It's like, oh, well, let's not do that. Like, that bill's going to be too high. Let's regionalize it then.
Right.
So it's just, it's interesting, man. I've said this so many times that college, all for change, all for positive change, all for the NIL, the transfer stuff. I'm not all for the transfer stuff, but just all for positive change. But it definitely feels like growing pains. Too much change too soon. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around it all.
Right.
And it's almost impossible to predict, what the next ball to drop is going to be, and like how many balls are going to drop. Like who would have thought that 24 months ago that 6 months from now the Pac-12 conference is going to be no more.
It's going to be an interesting shift here in the next 5 to 6 years, especially, and we've talked about it. And the way that you were saying that Troy Dannon was answering the questions, almost as if he listened to some past episodes of What's Up Wednesday. But
he might be on there, but I gotta check the podcast.
He might have
He's
to.
a listener.
Might have to, you know. But you know
that might have been about it.
Right?
Might have been a part of him making the decision to come up here.
It might have. but
JB and D-Dub.
Here's the challenge, though, D. When you're talking about the money and looking at it, and some of the details that are now coming out are stifling. My co-host KB has noticed an optic look down there in regards to staffing, different areas where the UW is financially struggling. And when you hear about them losing for their fiscal year in 2023 close to $6 million, and that's expected to be an additional $8 million next year for the financial year, and they're still paying off the loan that financed the renovation of a Husky Stadium 11 years ago. And apparently, according to the Seattle Times, is expected to increase from $9.8 million annually to $17.7 million over the next few years, which adds up to, and you're hearing now reports of them owing upwards of $70 million to their vendors. That's a dire situation. Now you see why they had to make that move, or if they are going to make that move and take whatever lifeline they could get. But he's tasked with the, I run numbers every day here, D, but those are some big time numbers, man.
Yeah, no, yeah, those are. Don't call me,
man. Call my accountant.
I ain't got nothing on it.
No, not even 5.
Oh man, nah, it's a, I think it's the unique place. We cannot forget that we're operating post pandemic.
Yeah.
And we cannot forget that we're operating post pandemic without a network that could really support. We didn't have ESPN. We didn't have Disney. We didn't have Fox as a league to hold us up. We had the Pac-12 network, and without sports going normally or whatever it was, you didn't have the content that you would normally have. So and with nobody in the stands and all of those things, and so it really put us behind the ball, and I think that really stresses the numbers out, right? Because I know in my business, I know in my household, right, when I couldn't go to the gym and work or had to change the way we did it, the bills didn't stop. The bill for the stadium didn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this stuff happens. And then now you got to come in and figure out how to make a plan for it. And, that's the same thing apparently UCLA was dealing with when they made the decision. And we were poo-pooing on UCLA and USC. They were talking about having to cut sports. And it's oh, come on. Are you serious? But, yeah, it was that real. It is that real. So, how they get back to – I remember when I was playing, I think they were saying that the UW was one of, 5 athletic departments in the country that, basically was, self-funded, that was able to, operate on its own, with as far as budget-wise or whatever. Now, that was before they renovated Edmonton Pavilion. But, it'll be interesting to see what and how all that shakes down. And then you look at that, and then you look at coaches' salaries, and then you look at, and another thing that I think is affecting their money is the NIL stuff, right? Because a portion of that money that was going to sponsors, that donors were going to, the campaign for the student athlete, which wasn't for the student athlete when I was there, it was for building the building, which gave the student athletes a different building to play in, but they didn't actually get the money. Well, now there is a actual campaign for the student athlete where the student athletes are getting paid.
Right.
And so some of that, I don't know what percentage, but that has to dip into, even though it's a different pot. But, if I had $1 million to give to the school and now I'm giving $500,000 to the NIL pot and $500,000 to the school, well, that, you know, negatively impacts the school's fundraising revenue. So people have a decision to make now how they want to give. Do they give to Michael Penix, you know, or do they give the Huskies?
Right. But does not one hand wash the other? I like how you put that. But doesn't one hand wash the other, though, as well? Because you are getting that NIL pot up. You do, of course, bring some prestige to the program, depending on the type of players, the high-level players that bring in. And the more wins, obviously, brings in the more money. Does the right hand wash the?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely, you know, how it works. But you know, it's not a system or a model that's been in place long.
True.
You know, to like they were benefiting from Michael Penix without paying Michael Penix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before. So like the Michael Penix money was going to the staff and to the arena, period.
Right.
So that being, one hand washes the other, but it's going to take time to recoup that loss, right? That loss that is now the player's game. And
then you're just hoping that Dannon has the vision to navigate through all this.
Yeah, I mean, that's supposedly why they brought him in. You know, this is an interesting. You know, it's an interesting time in athletics. You know, I look at the men's basketball coaching staff over there, and you have, you know, first-time coaches. You know, Pondexter's a first-time coach. Conroy's a first-time coach. I mean, he was with the Romar era, but this is his first one and only spot that he's been a coach.
Right.
And you know, for Coach Hop, he's his first-time head coach. And so,
and D, after and I don't mean to interrupt, but after reading those, you know, going through those numbers and understanding, and you would explain what it was and why they could not let go Hopkins, because it would be much. Let's just say the old saying goes, "It's cheaper to keep her."
Right.
Right. And so now you understand. Right. It's cheaper to keep Hop. And so you know, for lack of analogy, I mean. It makes a lot more sense, and so the task is real.
Yeah, absolutely. The task is real, and you know it'll take time for all of this change to balance out, and for the budget to balance, right? Like they got to be different about how they didn't have to consider, a student athlete. I'm a quote unquote payroll, because that's not what it's supposed to be. Before, and so, and there wasn't a whole lot of warning of what and how that was going to look like, and what the additional impact would be, you know, those kind of things. So it's going to take some time, some years to, you know, for athletic departments to figure out how to make the necessary adjustments in this new world of college athletics.
Talking with University of Washington basketball legend Donald Watts here on a Watts Up Wednesday, heard every Wednesday at 2 p.m. here on these platforms, 1620 KYIZ on ztwins.com, and on the Simple Radio app in the Vancouver, Portland area on 1480 KBMS. I know we only have a few more minutes there, D. You know, there was a couple things I wanted to get to. I love the fact that the NBA preseason is underway. Maybe you wanted to touch on that. Maybe a quick thought about the Seahawks, because we have not spoke since that big Monday night win. And how confident are you with them going into Cincinnati this weekend?
I think Cincinnati's going to be a challenge. It's going to be tough. Joe Burrow looked like he got off the snide a little bit last week. I think that the Seahawks are much improved from week one, obviously. They're a young ball club with some veterans, so they got a great mix from that standpoint. But I still think they are beat the bottom of the league program. You know, like they can handle their business when they're facing a team that's struggling a little bit. But and I also feel like, and they have to prove it to me different, that when they're playing against the top of the league, that they can be productive. You know, I'm not even talking about like winning, but be productive when a San Francisco comes to town, or when and Cincinnati is like a middle of the road test from that standpoint. You know, obviously a talented team's been to the Super Bowls and all of that stuff, but they've been dealing, they've been dealing with their own struggles, right? So do you get a Cincinnati team that's, trending towards 80 to 90%, which is like a real test for the Seahawks, or do you get a 60 to 70% Cincinnati team, which I think that the Seahawks will be able to really hang in there with and possibly come out with a win. So where they are is not where they're going to be, but where they are, they're in a great place as far as record. But I don't really think that they've been tested and had their teeth cut yet against the playoffs, playoff teams. The teams that are contenders.
The elite of the elite.
Yeah. But like I said, I do like what they've been able to do. I have been impressed with the adjustments they've been able to make with the offensive linemen out. I thought that they're very creative in their protection. I think that Geno's done a great job, and I love the 1-2 punch of the running back core. I love how that's developing and shaping out, both because they're productive, but they're productive in different ways. And I think having each other is going to keep each other healthy, and also keep each other competitive. You're going to want to have quality touches when they got another guy that can get some touches.
There you go.
I think it'll keep them running harder. So I really think that we're as good as we've been in the backfield, since Marshawn, and maybe even trending towards better than we've been in the backfield with Marshawn, because there's two guys.
There you go.
That can throw different looks at you.
It's a work in progress. I definitely am feeling you on that, and I think everything just leads up to, I guess, when the real games start, the playoffs before the playoffs, and that's on Thanksgiving night when we, of course, host the San Francisco 49ers. That's going to be a huge game, so we'll see, of course, how it ramps up till then. Only got a couple minutes, D, so with that being said, if you got a camper of the week that you want to go ahead and highlight, go ahead and do that, but we definitely got to get your Watts Weekly Words of Wisdom.
I'm going to go straight to the Watts Weekly Words of Wisdom, and I'm going to go with the old Slick Watts quote. And this one is for the older folks that are doing sports, that are involved in sports and doing stuff. And Pop said we were speaking at Sean Kemp's he was speaking at Sean Kemp's fantasy camp. And he said, you know that saying, no pain, no gain? And everybody said, yeah. He said, well, don't do that. If it hurts, stop. we don't want to call nobody in the ambulance. So, hey, for my weekend warriors, my pickleballers, my guys and girls that are up in age, getting up in age like me and JP, hey, don't push too hard, right? Like that pain, no pain, no gain is for the young folks. Yeah. Like Slick said, if it hurts,
stop. I love it, D. Hey, we appreciate it, of course. So welcome back. Of course, and everything that you do, of course, go to wattsbasketball.com today to get signed up or listen to any of our past podcasts. And we salute to you a very, very safe and sane Watts Up Wednesday, brother.
He's out.
That's D. Donald Watts, of course, the University of Washington basketball legend himself, ready for Duck Week. Again, if you have a son or daughter who loves basketball, looking to take their game to the next level, or just want to sponsor a hooper, to get involved with the game-changing Watts basketball programs, visit wattsbasketball.com today.